Hello, I seem to be accidentally live. I didn't know. I thought I was clicking for a thumbnail. Hi, everybody. Suddenly accidentally live. A few minutes before I thought I would be live. Okay, well, you live and learn. Live and learn. Hi to anybody that finds me. I was trying to give you a little bit of notice about doing the live, and I've accidentally hit go live. I don't know how that has happened. Hopefully people can okay, the sound seems to be a bit funny. Nope. Is the sound working? Ooh, no. Oh my goodness. I might have to double check. I'm completely all of a kerfuffle, but it's exactly what I say to people is that when you hit live, a lot of these things do go wrong, and it's just how do you figure it out afterwards. Oh my goodness, and I don't know how to double check. Okay, well, the little green lights are moving a tiny bit. Shall I just keep going? I was really hoping to have a few seconds to myself and give you a little bit of notice before I went live. But anyway, hi, I've been hitting record for 365 days now. Yay for me. June the 2nd last year, I decided that's it. I'm going to do a 1.5 minute video every day. And at the beginning it was going after my goals, and the video will keep me honest and I'll document it. And then fairly quickly I realized that I didn't really know what goal I was going after, but I did know that I needed to hit record every day and that there was a value to hitting record and to making those videos. Oh dear me, I'm still stressing about whether I've got the sound. So yeah, this video is to celebrate that I've done that. I think there's over 1,000 videos now. Original plan was just one video a day, and then there was some momentum that came in, and momentum purely internal. It wasn't so much about subscribers or anything else like that. It was like, I think I'm ready to do a 4-minute video now. I think I'm ready to do a 6-minute or an 8-minute, or there's something that I want to say, or there's a video that I've seen that I'd like to have a play and experiment with the format that they used and talk about something that I'm interested in. So anyway, over 1,000 videos later, and I thought, I miss going live. I like the live bit, even though I'm suddenly live today. Imagine, I don't know what the beginning of this video was like. I thought I was posing for a thumbnail picture, and then suddenly I was live. Anyway, one of the things about hitting record every day, what was I going to say? There's so many things that I was going to say. I do feel like it's a big achievement that I've done every single day for the year. There was a time around the day 200 and I was thinking, oh my goodness, a year is a long time. And I could imagine finishing it because I knew that I was completely committed, but it just felt really drawn out and a really long time. So I was going to just quickly go through what the story is. There's a guy who was going around saying, Simon something, oh, I'm terrible for getting names right. He was going around asking people, do you have a dream? He still goes around the internet saying, do you have a dream? And he spoke to this young lady who was sunbathing at the time. He said, do you have a dream? And she said, I'd like to be a doctor. And he said, well, what's holding you back from this dream? And she said, money. And his recommendation to her was, why don't you do a 1.5 minute video a day telling people that you're going to document your journey to becoming a doctor, and you can earn money from those videos, and then that will support you in your life and different things like that. Now, when I saw that, my immediate thought was, I don't think she's going to do that. But what was interesting is what he did next. He said to her, this is exactly what you do. You set up the channel. You say to people, you're going to document the journey and this is what you're going for. You set yourself, it's just going to be 1.5 minutes, and you hit record and you say, hi, my name is so-and-so. I've got a dream of doing this, and this is day 1, and I'm going to document the journey. And I really, really needed that explicitness of this is how you can start to hit record. I think before that, it was all too wishy-washy, and I'd watched a ton of videos about scripting and editing and having the right idea and the good title and the thumbnail and everything like that. And it all felt completely overwhelming. So the fact that he did that, I was able to stop watching that video, put my phone on, hit record and say, hey, it's day one. My name is this. And yeah, and you can see I've got a list, and all the videos are still up on the channel. But I needed that. I needed that kind of instruction to get started and to keep going for that week. It's just like, it's just 1.5 minutes. And I don't know why his instruction spoke to me. I think it was a combination of factors. I've said this before in one of the videos. I watch a lady who does these tarot card readings, a lady called Sam Tarot, and in one of the readings, she's very much into storytelling and archetypes and different things like that. So following that kind of story side of things, she was saying, in the future, you're going to forget what this journey is like. Why don't you document the journey? So I'd had that as an idea, but it seemed too vague, the idea to document the journey. And then I heard him say, this is exactly how you do it. And as I say, there was a part of me saying, the way forward is to be doing work and to creating on the internet. But a big stumbling block was hitting record and sharing things with me on camera for several reasons, which I think I'll look at now. Oh my, I'm hoping that the sound is working. There's nobody here to tell me. There's nobody here. Somebody was saying to me once, what happens if you go live and there's nobody there? I said, oh, that's normal. That's a normal experience for me. That's okay. So why did I feel that pull towards doing the video? Or why did I feel like that was the only option? What else was going on in my life at that time? At that time, I'd been diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome. I was rarely leaving the house. I was having a tough time walking, driving, doing anything like that. So I was rarely leaving the house. So the question was, what am I going to do at home to express myself or create or do any kind of work? And there wasn't pressure on me to be earning from day one. And in the very early days, I wasn't even sitting up for long periods of time. I was needing to lie down. And so I needed to keep the bar really, really low. And 1.5 minutes seemed to fit with that. The other thing was, I'd done some videos in the past, but I'd had these different expectations of, it's really important that I communicate a particular message, and it's important that I look professional and different things like that. But because I was ill, I had to be able to make videos with no makeup and without doing my hair, because I wasn't able to lift my arms and different things like that very much. So my particular situation at the time was, I was too ill to be doing things properly or the right way. And I also had a ton of anxiety about turning the camera on and talking about myself and whether people would be nasty to me. But I also felt, I think this is the future. I think this is something that I can learn and get better at. Yeah, a ton of things going on there. Let me just see. Let me just make this video. Let me not worry about who's watching and everything. If somebody comes and joins me later and puts a question, I'm happy to answer it. But for the time being, let's make this. I feel a tad emotional talking about how ill I felt at the beginning of the YouTube journey. It was a sense of optimism at the beginning, and that this could be a step forward. But I suppose what's emotional about it is just how ill, and knowing the need that doing things properly or the right way wasn't possible. And I had a lot of different fears and worries going forward. I was doing my very best to find any step forward. And I also knew that being in my head and thinking about things rather than taking action wasn't helping me, partly because I had a lot of brain fog and I wasn't able to work through a thought. So anyway, I hit record, and I must admit, I struggled to sleep that night and I felt quite sick. And I was really worried. When you first start on YouTube, you're worried if there's going to be a ton of views and you're worried if there's going to be no views. But in particular, I was worried about there being a lot of views and then suddenly a lot of negativity or problems and different things like that. In a way, I wanted to have my own space and get comfortable hitting record. I wasn't looking for that kind of crazy success type of thing. It was, can I get record? Can I relax myself? Can I figure out my way of speaking? Can I figure out what I want to talk about? All these things that I wanted to figure out. And I know that I've met people more lately that seem to be quite interested in getting a lot more views for their videos. I didn't feel like that. Even now, I feel like I have so much to learn about how I'm structuring the interviews. I do interviews, how I'm structuring the videos, how I'm speaking, how I'm expressing myself. I feel like I have so much to learn that I only want to attract kind of a smaller group of people that are okay with me being the skill level that I'm at right now. In the early days, I said to my husband, I'm looking for people who can tolerate me and tolerate where I am right now. And he was like, the word tolerate's a bit harsh, isn't it? But I don't mean it as in harsh. I mean it as in, I know my habits on YouTube, and sometimes I just don't like the way they speak or something about them turns me off and I don't want to watch. And it doesn't mean that I don't think they're good people or good creators or anything like that. It just means right now I'm finding something about them a bit irritating. So I meant it in a quite a literal sense of maybe they can't tolerate that I'm making mistakes all the time, or they can't tolerate that I haven't done the makeup and or my voice or anything else like that. It's like, okay, no, let's have my smaller audience of people that are going to be rooting for me to get better and to keep going. And I have been able to find that. But the reason I'm mentioning that is I think in terms of success, I was very much focused on the goal is to hit record every single day and make these smaller videos. Everything else is a bonus. And I'm going to be learning skills and developing skills. And as I learn and develop skills, maybe more people will come in later who can say, now she's not making all those beginner mistakes. Now she's a little bit higher. I can tolerate her a bit more. But I shall be, sorry, I've got itchy nose. There'll be my early adopters, the people that were there in the early days that was like, oh, they know how hard it was right at the beginning. So yeah, anyway, hi to the people that are here now. Hi. Vicky's just saying hi, congratulations for hitting your year target. So I was just saying about my early people that were there and saw me figuring stuff out, making mistakes, figuring stuff out, making mistakes. And I thought, I want to celebrate the day 365, but I'm also wondering how many people have this kind of secret ambition of maybe one day I'll create something, maybe not YouTube, whatever they want to create and go public. And it might be useful for them if I actually stop and talk about what the highs and the lows were. But if you have questions, then I'm happy to answer other questions, other random questions too. So there you go. It's been lovely to watch your journey. Thank you. Oh, dear me. It's funny because in the comments you go, nobody's interested in your journey. I had this one guy say to me, nobody's interested in your journey and that you go to Sainsbury's. And I thought, I've never mentioned that I go to Sainsbury's. And it kind of made me feel a bit creepy. It's like, oh, is he watching me? And he knows I go to Sainsbury's. So, but I think he was making a sarcastic comment about sort of middle-aged women doing the shopping and talking about it and stuff like that. But afterwards, it's quite funny. Anyway, highs and lows, 365 days. I wanted to jump in with what the lowest low was. Clearly, that's the way my mind works. I can't remember whether there was 2 or 3 times out of the 365. There was either 2 or 3 times where I didn't feel like I could be on camera. I still did the daily, this is what I've done today, but I didn't feel like I could show my face on camera. I think it was just the 2 times because I'd been so ill that day and I'd been crying a lot that day. And it wasn't so, I mean, I've cried on different videos before, so it wasn't so much about you seeing me cry. It was about, I didn't want people to worry about me, because there's times when I've cried, and most of the times it's just that I've been emotional. But this was, I'm feeling really ill and I'm really quite low and I'm crying for that kind of reason. And I didn't want people worrying and looking at me going, wow, she looks really, really ill and different things like that. So these 2 or 3 times I filmed the dog, I did the voiceover, and I did that. When I was thinking about making this video, I said to myself, was it 2 or was it 3 times that happened? And I think it's interesting to me that I can't remember. I think obviously the first time it happened, it really stood out in my head of, I'm kind of a failure and I failed to be on camera every day. I've hit record every day, but I failed to be on camera every day. But when the second time happened, I thought, you're hitting record, that was the goal, and this is too much. You don't have to share this. And I kind of gave myself a pass. So I can't remember. I think there might have been a third time, but I can't completely remember because, like I say, I gave myself a pass by that point. It was like, no, you don't have to feel really, if you're feeling really, really ill, you don't have to be doing that. But for my own satisfaction and for me to feel like I would achieve the goal, I could film the dog, and I think the dog had chewed up a toy or something like that. So I said, oh, here's what the dog's done today, or something like that. So anyway, I'm just checking on the comments. Vicky saying, look, some people suck. I'm guessing that's because people saying nobody interested in joining. And then Vicky says, that resonates with me because no one sees me unless I'm feeling well enough. Yeah. I think what I was saying maybe before you got here was my story at the beginning was diagnosed with the chronic fatigue. I knew that I had to be on camera less than polished perfect. I knew that I wouldn't be doing my hair and I wouldn't be doing makeup. And that was hard. But I'd had a goal for that beforehand. I've watched a lot of other people's videos, and I'd also started to notice what content that I gravitated to. And there's a certain type of, a lot of makeup, sort of perfection, hairspray, the works type of look that I didn't particularly resonate with. And I liked people that I felt that they were comfortable in their own skin. And so I knew that was kind of the direction that I wanted to go. And as I say, that was my goal. But I didn't feel ready for that. I didn't feel like I had the speaking skills and the storytelling and the tech and the ideas and all of that to pull that off, if that makes sense. I thought all those other aspects of me will need to be so much better to compensate for the fact that I'm not shiny, But at some point, if I'd have waited until I'm doing makeup and hair and I'm able to do that, I don't think I'd be hitting record even now. It's a year later. There's still times when I'm thinking I don't feel well enough to brush my hair through. I don't feel well enough to do different things like that. I really needed the bar to be very, very low. It's like, if you are able to sit up, and there's been some times where I thought I might have to do this one lying down. But anyway, I should say that in a second. Let me just read this. Perfection. It says fakery is nowhere near as interesting as authentic. raw content. I think I've been talking about this lately. I think I've got lucky in the timing, which obviously I didn't plan. I don't know what's going to happen with the world. I think I've got lucky that as I'm building my skills and I like this kind of, oops, made a mistake and oh, this is how I am, but I'm trying and I'm trying and trying. I think there's going to be a group of people that really want that kind of thing. I think if this had been a few years ago, people would have just dismissed it much more quickly, in that no, she shouldn't be hitting record. Somebody like that shouldn't be hitting record because they want that professional commentary. I don't know, the way somebody looks like they're on TV or something like that. But I wonder, and especially now with the AI side of things, I wonder whether we're going to want more of the human side of things. I've been thinking a lot about the future and what I want to make, and it was leaning on doing the lives. And I like the idea of it feeling more like a theatre performance, that you capture it next. And then rather than being rehearsed and scripted. Now, there's definitely going to be times where I've got ideas and there's points that I want to make, but I don't think it's the same as editing out all the ums and ahs and then, I say, rehearsing it and rehearsing it until it's so slick. So let me just have a quick look. So, two different places that I have to look. This is the new camera setup. It says, "You've done amazing. I have ME and long COVID, so spend a lot of time in bed watching YouTube. I prefer realness." Yes, and I'm sorry that you've been ill. I was open. I was happy for people to know that I be about, oh, I'm ill, and I think I'm coming around to the fact that this is part of my story. I think this is one of those things that I didn't want this to be my story, which makes my nose tingle and I start to feel a bit emotional again. When I was a little bit younger and I was having different fertility issues, I remember doors shutting in terms of when they give you the medical results of it's not possible to have this, it's not possible. And then at some point, it's not possible to have children and different things like that. I remember being obviously very upset, but the thought in my head was, I didn't want this to be my story. I didn't want this to be, the story is I really wanted children and I wasn't able to have them. And it was actually that phrase of, I don't want this to be my story. And I didn't want that. And then I think also when I became ill, that's something that came back. It's like, I didn't want this to be my story. I don't want to go on and talk about symptoms. I don't want to spend my time and energy doing that. But I think a large part of it was, I don't want this to be the story. I want to be the story of, I'm creating, I'm having a life, I'm doing all these other things. So it was really hard to accept that. But I think what I've realized now is that at the moment, and I'm still optimistic about the future of being better. At the moment, this is part of my story. And part of the story is that it's not try harder, hustle harder, get up earlier. If you really want this, then you're going to make it happen. It's, I have other things going on in my life, and the health stuff is one of them. And that means that the bar, like I said, has to be really low. I say to myself 1.5 minutes. And what I was doing over the last few days is thinking about the future of the channel and saying, okay, these are my creative constraints. These are what's happening, the time and energy, obviously particularly energy, but it relates to time. How can I lean into that in terms of what I'm creating? And one of them was going live. Just having a quick look. No, there's no more comments right now. Oh, there is one just bounced up. It's part of your story, yes, but you are not your illness. I think that's the tricky thing, isn't it? Because if you are ill and it's a large, and it impacts how you show up, and how quickly you can learn something, or how quickly you can reply to people, or it is impacting everything. But I don't want it to be that's the only conversation type of thing. But if people are going to say to me, so for example, when I struggled with some of the tech and people saying, oh, just read this and learn this, I wasn't able to take in information. I have a window in the day where I'm able to concentrate on learning new things. And I'm a lot slower at doing those things, and it wears me out. And I have to prioritize sometimes life stuff. You know, this Friday I had 5 forms from the doctors to fill out. Well, I have to wait. I have somebody who comes to help me with forms and stuff because I have trouble concentrating and different things like that, filling out those forms. So I have somebody who comes around and helps me every 2 weeks for things like that. But clearly, that's my window gone, filling out those forms. I don't get extra windows. When life stuff gets busy, I don't get extra bonus time and energy to be doing the different work things. But again, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about feeling ill, and I'm a little bit of an uncomfortable way of talking about documenting the journey and saying, okay, wasn't such a great day, but trying to focus on the creative side of things and the sharing side of things. And there's so much relating to the creative side, the different fears and anxiety and the things that I'm learning that I felt were relevant to share with other people, so that if they were feeling like their journey didn't look perfect or their life situation didn't look perfect, that they would go, okay, maybe it's possible for me. And my favorite comments have been people who said, oh, I'm starting a YouTube channel now, or I'm going to be creating, or I'm going to be sharing stuff now. The people that I've done interviews with as well, and they say, oh yeah, I think, and I was watching you do that, and I thought, oh no, maybe I could do that too. It's like, oh, that's my favorite. That's my favorite. So yeah. Dear me. So the lowest moment were those 2 or 3 times where I couldn't be on camera. How many times have I wanted to quit? Way more times than that. Way more times than 2 or 3. I'm so glad that wasn't a choice on the table. And definitely, as soon as I got past the 100 days, that was, well, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. And there's times. Sorry, Vicky says you're inspiring. Thank you. I'm just thinking there's times I'm picturing my home. My husband might be sitting in the hall, and he paints these little soldiers, and he's sitting in the hallway at the dining table, and I have to walk past him to come to the studio and sit down. And on the evening, I come in and I have to do, well, I've chosen and committed to do this 1.5 minute video. Like, he goes, where are you going? I go, I'm going to do this shitty little video. And he goes, have fun. It's just, honestly, there's been a lot of times where I was kind of joking, but kind of real about, I really don't want to do this. And I didn't know what to say. I didn't have a plan. And there were a lot of times where I turned on the camera and hit record, and I realized that I hadn't done much towards my dream for my life. I'd done a lot of living stuff, surviving-y stuff and living stuff, but I hadn't done things that I felt were important to future me. And that's why time and time again, I thought, this is the value of it. This is keeping me honest of what am I doing towards things that are important to me, about expressing me and creating something in the world and sharing that, rather than just getting by in life. Obviously, some things are urgent and you do those kind of things, but sometimes it's like, this is the video that says, what did you do today about things that are important to you, Joanne? So anyway, talking to myself. But anyway, there has been, I would say, if 2 or 3 times were the really bad, I can't be on camera and being really, really, really low. There's been a ton of time. There have been, I would guess, more like 100 of those days. Probably easy 100 of those days where it's like, I gotta do this video. But maybe not 100 where I wanted to quit. I think maybe 20 to 30. It's quite, it felt like quite a big number. Now I'm looking back. 20 to 30 was like, I really don't think this is working. I do want to quit. Like serious thoughts about it. I think I do want to quit. And those days have hit me, particularly in the last 6 weeks. And thankfully, there's a group of us that are on a WhatsApp group chat, a few of us that have YouTube channels, people that have found me through one particular video that I did. And we reached out to each other, and now we're connected, and then we have different groups. And in that last 6 weeks, I'd been particularly ill, and I wasn't able to do all the extra videos. I was only able to do the daily updates. And I just thought, I have nothing more to give to this. What had happened was I'd done the reaction videos to the Dimash songs, and the comments just said the music quality was so bad. And I recorded a few more, and I could tell for myself that the music quality was really bad. And I thought, I can't share this kind of content. And I felt too ill to figure out a new way to record different kind of music, and I didn't want to deal with those kind of comments. And as I say, I was just feeling too ill to figure out something else, to figure out any other kind of solution. So as I say, there was a good 6 weeks or so where all I was doing, or it felt like I was doing, was doing the daily, I'm documenting the journey. And I wasn't able to do much recording or creating or anything else. And I just thought, if I'm this ill, if I can't get a grip of taking better care of myself, I wasn't eating well. And of course, as soon as you're not eating well, everything starts getting worse, doesn't it? So I thought, I just can't. One of the cartoons that I drew was about a ship that was kind of sinking. It was like, I can't right the ship. It just was really struggling. It's like, I can't figure out a way to do any less that I'm doing. Like, I was only doing a 1.5 minute video, and I was just surviving at doing other things. And yet I'm feeling this ill and this exhausted. And I don't know how I could do less so that I can do the pacing that I need to do to start feeling better. Damn it. That's all good fun, isn't it? So 20 or 30 days where serious thoughts of, this isn't working. I really do think that I'm going to be quitting. Thankfully, I had these other people to speak to, but also thankfully for me, I had this momentum of hitting record every day. So I'm going to be doing the year. I'm going to be doing the year, and maybe I don't have the energy or the brain power to be doing other kinds of videos, and maybe this is all I do. But I had some encouragement to create and to do some other experiments. And Vicky was just saying it's exhausting for sure. The thing is, you don't know what you're working towards, do you? There's been a few times when I've thought, anybody who's watching this isn't the normal challenge. Typically, when you see a YouTube video with a challenge, they say, I did a 30 days of no sugar. And they cover the whole thing. And by the end of the video, you know how they felt or whether they managed the challenge and what happened. This is the year long of, I don't know if she's even going to hit record every single day. This is like for me, like a magical mystery tour of, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. During this time, I've completed 2 different books and published 2 books. I didn't know that was going to happen as I was doing all of this. That was just a little bit of momentum and growing. And some of these things had been written but not completed. And I thought, oh no, I'm excited to complete them now. So I don't know. I didn't know what the YouTube channel would look like or what my life would look like as a creator, that there would be other things that I would be creating, and or the other people that I would be connecting to. I had no idea of any of those things. And likewise, I don't know what things are going to look like next week or the week after or anything like that. No, honestly, if you have questions, ask, or if this particularly about your situation, please ask or say. I just thought, let me ramble on about the good, the bad, the ugly. Trying to be honest, I was seeing a few things lately about YouTube channels, and what was it she was saying? Oh, it was an advert for the app about recording and editing, and they were saying, "Oh, I know how to teach, and but I didn't know how to do the course and the editing, and then I got this app, and then it all worked perfectly." Doesn't work perfectly at all. And for me, I had been teaching in a classroom, but that's a completely different thing to hitting record and being on camera. Being in a classroom and seeing the people and knowing the people and being able to interact with them is very different to just speaking to a camera. And then organizing, let's say, teaching something is different from talking about yourself and sharing different parts of your life on camera. Completely different experience. Ah, dear me. Vicky says, that's a huge achievement, Joanne. You have probably done much more than you realize. I think that's why I wanted to go live today, because I like the lives. I think there's a clue here. I've been looking over the last couple of days. I think I can't remember what it is you create, but you know the creative side of things. There's an idea in the creative world about constraints being really good for you. In fact, constraints helping with creativity. And so I've been looking at that today, and I've been having a little chat with Claude, this AI, and I was saying, and Claude was bouncing back some questions for me, and I was having a conversation. And I thought, this is really interesting what I'm gravitating to in terms of the kind of things that I enjoy creating. The cartoons, I still like doing the cartoons, and they are super fast. One of the challenges is, what do I do with those cartoons afterwards? Because I don't have a huge following on Instagram. There seems to be a lot of other things to do with them, as in saving them in different formats, putting them into books or putting them on products or different things like that. But the actual creative side, super fast, and I love. And that's really tight on sort of the energy and different things like that. And I thought, well, in an AI world, or in a world where I was able to get help, I could do the creating of the cartoons. I can do the fast stuff and the stuff that I enjoy. And then that could be something else. The what happens next and how I reuse that content is kind of a separate question, isn't it? And I thought, okay, I love the cartoons. I do enjoy writing the books. There isn't much writing in them. There's a lot of cartoons. There's a lot of being explicit, because I found in some of the challenges that I've had relating to speaking up and expressing myself, I just needed it explained explicitly that, oh, this is how people have this inner conflict. It's like, oh, I needed to hear that. I needed to hear, oh, this inner conflict. And then I was having the cartoons describing the inner, making a joke about inner conflict. I felt like nobody was talking about that. So the books aren't a ton of writing. I think they're between 6,000 and 9,000 words. Mainly the cartoons, mainly easy to read and different things like that. So again, a small amount of concentrated effort. And then the videos. I like the energy of the lives. I really enjoy the interviews, but I struggle with the organization of it. So I don't know how many interviews I can do in the future, because it needs to come to, I find it quite hard to track who I've contacted and different requests that they've had and different things like that. But again, I was talking to AI and I was saying, okay, there seems to be a theme here of that embracing the constraints of, it needs to be quick, it needs to be simple. And maybe that is going to be my style. And maybe that is what I will be known for as a creator, and that I embrace that and the imperfection of that. Obviously, I'm trying to get better all the time at the writing side of things, particularly. But I like that there's lots of white space, and that the cartoons, and that you can flick through the book and probably read it in an hour. I like that about it because I struggle to read denser books and stuff like that. Anyway, so I think this idea of embracing the constraints is something that's quite exciting at the moment. So Vicky's saying, have you ever connected with Ricochet? No. He's a lovely guy who's a graffiti artist and rapper. Let me just write that down, Nick, because sometimes the comments disappear. Ricochet. Graffiti artist and rapper. I do follow somebody called 1000 who's an artist who does the big murals and stuff, but he does a lot of, he's got a big channel now, but he's done a lot of projects, and he also does a lot of collaborations. And I was very, the standard of his videos is very high, but I really like his energy. So yeah, I love the interviews. I love the interviews where I do struggle, but as I was looking at that, I thought, well, at some point in the future, if I was able to have help, or if there was a way to manage this better with AI, then that's on the table again, isn't it? I don't know whether you've seen the film Limitless. Have you seen it? Bradley Cooper, very handsome actor. Limitless, and the idea is that they take this drug, and then suddenly the brain has all this capacity, and then for a while he's just doing these selfish things, and he's wants to finish his book or wants to do something like that. Well, I really like that film. And what was interesting in that film is that it's not until quite a bit later that he starts to focus his attentions on how can I get off this drug, and how can I have the best idea for my future? How can I do the da-da-da-da? And I was thinking over the last couple of days, oh, I've been using AI a little bit the way he was using the drug, is that I've been solving like a simple little question at a time, instead of looking at AI as in, oh, how can this help me create better systems and lives and a much bigger problem solving, almost to the point of not needing AI and not needing that help. It's like, how can I use that a lot better? And I do feel that there's a completely different change of focus, rather than me having eyes down, or can it help me research this particular question, to being like, how can I have a better life, and how can I be creating and doing the things that I want to do and connect with people? Sorry, my nose is running. Anyway, I digress a bit from my own YouTube. I suppose it's kind of related, isn't it? Vicky was saying he organised the tribute to Ren from Harry Mack, and he did a drawing of Ren while it was playing. Okay. Just making a note about this. Tribute from Harry Mack. I've done a few reactions to Harry Mack, but I'm not overly familiar with him. And Vicky says about, not sure I've seen Limitless. My memory's terrible. Yeah. I really like it. I've seen it a few times, but I like the idea behind it, and particularly that turning point of, instead of how can I get this better clothing outfit, or how can I get the girl, or how can I get that, to be like, oh, okay, you be using this intelligence to really do quite a few different things. One of the things I saw today, I recently, in the last week or so, last couple of weeks, started an AI course and learning about AI, because, as I say, over the last 6 weeks or so, I've just been feeling very ill, and I thought, I have to find other solutions to help me with life stuff and with creating stuff. I have to find something else. And I was looking into AI, and this one guy was saying how he's got this prompt, this instruction for AI, because the key for AI is how good your instruction is. And he's asked AI, teach me over the next 3 months how to do this with regular testing and and feedback loops and stuff like that. So it's a whole long instruction of teach me this particular subject, blah, 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 using these resources, using these things, and I thought, oh my goodness, I haven't been thinking big enough and wide enough with the AI side of things. And then I saw a video today with Ali Abdaal, who talks a lot about personal development world. And he was saying for the last year, he's used AI as a coach, giving asking for feedback about his work and different things. I thought I'd never done that. I had never thought that. I'm so sorry, my nose is running. And Vicky was just saying it's a great video. So yeah, I will look into what's his name, Ricochet. Well, is that just a play on words? I'm gonna say what's his name? What's his name? Or is this like a tag name type of thing? So yeah, so using AI, I've also signed up for an art course. I had been trying to get myself to do more art, as in painting or do something else. I watched a video, somebody recommended that I watch some interviews about David Bowie. And I was really taken with some of the comments that he was saying about being a creative. And he was saying that when he gets stuck, he often turns to a different art form. I think for him, it was painting to come back to songwriting. And he just found that was really helpful, that it wasn't his area of specialty. It was like a switch, do something else completely different. Now, I'm a big fan of your environment shapes you and different things like that. So what I'd done is I'd created a space where I could paint or could do different things, but I still wasn't painting. And then I moved things again and I tried to make it simpler so that like really the paper was there, the brushes was there, and then, okay, no. And then I had a bookcase in there. And I thought, well, maybe the bookcase looks too busy and complicated. Let's simplify. I was doing all these things to try and make it as simple as possible. And then I thought, I don't know what to draw or to paint, so just pay for the course. I think it was $37 or something like that. And I've only watched one or two classes, and then straight away, she was saying it was about doing portraits and painting portraits, but in a very loose, casual style. And she says, first up, you practice by drawing it. You have a reference image and then you draw. And I thought, what do you mean you have a reference image? It had never crossed my mind that people who draw portraits, like the very loose portraits, not sort of the oil painting portraits, have a reference image. And then, so what we do in this lesson is 60 seconds, you've got this reference portrait, you do a 60-second, hold your pencil down on the paper and draw this portrait, and then the next one, 60 seconds, next one, 60. So I have been able to start drawing and doing different things. The reason I'm saying that is I think there are other ways to help yourself. I think sometimes, for me, I was beating myself up as in, why aren't I motivated to do these things? I say that I enjoy it and I want to do it, but I'm not doing it. And I think sometimes there are other things that you need to bring into your life to try and get yourself open-minded and help yourself. Okay. She was just saying, Ricochet, his name is Shay Sawyer, I think. So his name is Shay, but yeah, so it's clearly a tag or something. Somebody said that to him once and he's taken on the name. But I will have a look at that. Thanks for the reference to it. Oh, dear me. Is there anything that jumps out at you about the things that I've said about you creating? And because I think one of the things I noticed is a lot of the advice I saw on YouTube, their step one, their idea of do this first felt impossible to me. It was too far ahead of where my skills were and where my energy was and different things like that. And that's why I thought, oh, I really need to share what my day one is. And the word thing, like I was teaching and I had written books before, and obviously I had a life before, so I had some things, but there was a lot of skills and knowledge that I didn't have. And I think sometimes it's useful for people to say, oh yeah, she's having to figure this out too. So you can get started or whatever. Which is kind of going to lead me to the next point, is one of the things that's the most surprising thing about doing the 365 days is how quickly the days just rattled on. I'll show you here. It's probably a bit scruffy. You probably don't know whether you can tell. Can you tell? There's like little boxes here. This is just for the last 100 days, like 100 boxes. Very often what I do is I was trying to remember, what day am I on, as I hit record, and I'd mention the day I was on. And there'd be like a scrap of paper in front of me, and at the top I'd write, oh, it's day so and so so. And then the next day I'm going on with my life, and then I come in to do the recording, and I just scribble down day 28, and then suddenly that piece of paper was full, and I needed a new piece of paper, and then suddenly that was full, and then I needed a new paper. And I was really shocked. It was almost like I didn't see it filling up, but suddenly it was full. It was like, oh my goodness, time is flying past. And I think that's the thing that really has surprised me. Like, if I think about the year, I can think, oh, the year feels like it went on a long time. But actually seeing each day written on a little box and ticking it off and putting the title makes me feel like that's a lot of days. And suddenly, and I suppose it's that sense of, well, that all that time was going to rush past anyway. I think people talk about that. I think there's some famous quotes about it, about how quickly your life passes before you. And then people say about start now and start making things, and then future you in a year's time will be happy, because you'll either look back and say, oh, I'm glad I've done all those things every day, or you'll still be saying, oh, I'm not quite ready, different things like that. I'd say the biggest thing that was a surprise was just how many days, and like filling these pages and pages and pages of like, oh, that time was spent, that time was done. And all I was trying to fit in was a 1.5 minute video, but it was quite shocking to see how many days and how much, and that sense of how much work. I was looking at it today, and I think it's about 10 hours or something like that. 10 hours over a year. So just keeping that pressure on myself to the smallest amount it could be. And there's some days, and I say certainly over the last 6 weeks, there's some days where that was all I could do each day in terms of the filming side of things. Let me just double check what Vicky's saying. I'm not hugely creative at the moment. I love to cook, but don't do it as much just now. I've played the piano a couple of times this last week, and that gave me a lot of joy. I'm really pleased that you play the piano. I've got this app for playing the piano, and we've got a keyboard here, but I haven't really been doing. I got a bit excited about it, and then I noticed that my arms were hurting quite a bit. And I think in terms of priorities, there was other creative things that I thought would be more fun. But I don't know whether you follow Bells, who's been playing the music. She's been writing some of her own music, and it happens to be piano, and it tends to be on the style almost like Einaudi, which is somebody that I really like. And I was thinking, oh, I'd like to be able to play some Einaudi or some of these kind of piano pieces. And Vicky was just saying we are too hard on ourselves. Yeah, I think it's been interesting, the WhatsApp group that I'm in, and chatting to the other girls about doing the YouTube channels, and it's made me stop and question how I'm speaking to myself a little bit more, because thoughts that I'm thinking at that time, if I was going to write them down in the WhatsApp group, about even talking about myself, but writing it down, getting outside of my own head for that. And I thought, that's not very nice. I think we'll let that thought go. I think there was a time where I would hold on to thoughts. I thought that if you think it, it's something that's important and should be thought about. And I think a lot of people in the personal development or the therapy world or whatever, it's like, no, some thoughts just are meant to go in and then out, in and out, let them float off. So he is an amazing artist. Is it Einaudi you're talking about? He's an amazing artist. Yeah. I'm just seeing if she'll reply to that. Thank you for joining me. Oh dear me, these lives. Yes, I know. I went to see him live as well. Yeah, I really liked him. I wouldn't say I know his work so well. I think a lot of music stuff I've been kind of out of the loop and not made an effort to make music part of my everyday life. Again, that's something else that I've been doing. I've got a radio for the kitchen to try and make myself hear music. I enjoy listening to the music. That's why I like doing the reactions. It's like, oh, remember this, Joe? You actually liked listening to music before. I don't know how it happened. I don't know how I got so disconnected from some of those things. So yeah, particularly at bedtime, I like listening to some of the different piano music, and some of the music that Bells wrote. I did a little animation with the different cartoons as well. So anyway, what else do I need to say? Let me just think. Good, bad, the same. Any lessons? Any lessons? Let's just have a look. Oh, well, how amazing to see him live. My son used to listen. I'm wondering if your son used to listen to him a lot when he was studying for his GCSEs a few years ago. Yeah. I like silence for studying, but yeah, my husband likes having music or TV programs and different things like that. Are there lessons about this? I think the main lesson is that you don't know what's going to come from something like this, and maybe to hold that loosely. I think if I'd have said, I'm going to hit record every day and I'm going to hit, this many subscribers and earn this much money and that's whatever. I think if I'd have held that quite tightly, I might have missed out on some of the other experiences, because I've made videos that I want to make and talked about things that I wanted to talk about. And, when I first did a video talking about Ren, I did this video saying I watched Ren. I go down the rabbit hole of watching these Ren reaction videos, particularly about the song Hi Ren, and I was embarrassed about it. And I think I had about 160 or 170 subscribers at the time. But that is where I found some people that I felt like, oh, these are my people. They're okay. They're okay with me experimenting and trying. And if anything, they're encouraging me. The people that have reached out to me and said, oh, keep going. I want you to succeed. And it's somebody called Peter, and he was sending me links to different videos about learning some of the tech. And he goes, how can I help you? How can I help you figure this out? And I do wonder whether if I'd have said to myself, this has to be a success, so I can only talk about things that maybe I would have taught in a classroom, I think I'd have missed out on all of that. So for me, that's the lesson of this is a creative project. This has brought much more happiness to me and the connections to people. I'd done some videos in the past and I hadn't really have many views or anything like that. But the comments, as soon as I was engaging with this group of people, the comments were so amazing, where they opened up and you felt like you got to know them. Well, I felt like I got to know them and that I could have a conversation with them. And we could, when we were doing the lives, ask questions backwards and forwards, where I didn't have to be the expert, the person who knows everything. It was okay if I showed up as me. It was okay if I knew something. It was okay if I didn't know something. There was times when maybe I misunderstood a song, or times when I added some geeky thought, and everybody was completely fine with that. And as I say, I just feel like if I tried to do the success route, I think I'd have really missed that. So I just saw Vicky's done another one. So she's just corrected son. The joy of autocorrect, because it said song, but I did kind of guess it meant son. Oh, Vicky's got to go and sort my daughter out. I'll catch up with the rest of this later. Congratulations again. And here's to your... Oh, yeah, too. P.S. I'm still addicted to watching Ren reaction videos. Yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Go look after your daughter and do all of the things you're going to do. I'm going to finish on my own. How long are we? We're almost at the hour. So I'm going to keep going, but thank you for being here. No problem, you can go. So I'm going to think, what else? Lessons. The other lesson was to, if something is of interest to you and you're curious about something, like I wanted to do the interviews, is reach out and ask. And then she says, catch you next time, lovely lady. Thank you. Bye. So I try not to look at the numbers. I'm trying, because I can see when you go. I'm trying not to look at the numbers, because then I know that I'm on my own talking to the camera. Lessons. Reach out and say hello. Some people, as you're doing a YouTube channel, some people will see you as being a little bit more distant and may not make that first move to connect and to interview or to talk to you or to do anything else. So it may be that you have to be the person that does that. And again, that was another thing where suddenly, I say certainly, the interviews was the first thing, and then the WhatsApp group that I've had, it has been the second, of a lot of pleasure, a lot of fun, support, ideas, people I've interviewed messaging me on Instagram, encouraging me, offering links for help, introducing me to other people to interview. Loads of positive things, let alone the fact that I enjoy doing the interview and talking to them and getting to know them and asking them questions. And I learned so much about myself and the things that I was interested in, which kind of brings me to the next lesson, is that I knew from doing this for 365 days that if nothing else, I would have a ton of data, like real world data, not just in my head, I've made this, is this the right thing to make, or is it whatever? No, real world, I made it, I put it out there, this was what the response was. I made something else, this is what the response was. And I haven't anywhere near gone through all of that. I have found a website that can do some analysis about the different YouTube videos, and it can do like a block. And I was thinking it might be interesting to put a few of them together, not so much as in a success, but as in a, what is it? What patterns are coming out that clearly fascinate me and that I want to talk about? Because when in the cartoons, when I look at all the cartoons together, there's clearly themes that I want to talk about. And for me, the channel, and this is kind of leading on to the next thing, is about the future of the channel. The future of the channel is more of me in sort of artist rather than be a successful business. You can tell by the way I say it, can't you? It's more of me as an artist. What do I want to say? What am I interested in? What am I wanting to create? And, you know, that definitely, like the music, let's see, you know, I know that Ren is bringing out some music. I'm curious about that, but I'm curious from a self-expression point of view. I'm curious from a inner conflict. Will that be discussed again? And, you know, there's particular aspects of the language that is used and how people express themselves that I'm particularly interested in. And that is how I see the channel going. That has brought me the most pleasure, and the connections that I have with people in the comments, that brings me more pleasure. And there is a part of me that is interested and would like to be earning some money from the different things that I create and that I do. But I don't have that answer yet. All I know is the things that I enjoy come from more of this artist viewpoint of, I want to express myself. I feel a need to express certain items. I enjoy thinking about words and you know, when I'm in the interviews, asking people, it's like, how did you get yourself to do that? How did you get that turnaround moment? So there's things that I'm still really interested in and want to ask more about and want to learn more about. And storytelling is one side of things. And I'm going to be, that's what I've been looking at, AI, can AI help me learn some things about some of the storytelling? I've been meaning to learn about Greek myths and different things for years now, and I've tried and failed, tried and failed, tried and failed. I really struggle with remembering the names. And then I thought, do you know what? I could teach AI how I like to be taught and ask it then to teach me in that way, if that makes sense. I'm dyslexic, so I struggle with the names, but I know how I've been in classrooms where people have been teaching, and then I kind of translate it to myself, and then I have to teach myself. I feel like I always have to do that middle step. And I've noticed with my daughter that that's been really helpful, that I can see what she's struggling to remember and to move to long-term memory. And then there's different games I can play, and that helps her. And I thought, well, hey, maybe I could train AI to do that, and maybe I could share some of that too. So I don't know what is ahead, but I do think it's on this line of I'm going to be doing projects. It's what I want to express, and do you want to share that as I figure that out and what's possible? I mean, it'd be great if I was suddenly well again tomorrow, but at the moment, there's all these different constraints in terms of this is my life. I have chronic fatigue at the moment. I have chronic fatigue. I have a small window. What's possible with creating and learning and doing different things like that? Which is the final point of, will I be doing a daily video tomorrow? Yes, I will be doing a daily video tomorrow. I put a lot of pressure on myself, certainly in the last 2 weeks, to make a decision about whether I wanted to continue doing the videos. The daily videos don't get many views particularly, but they're a big benefit to me. They're a benefit to me to keep a run of days recording, because I think if I missed some, I think there would be, and certainly feeling ill, I think there would be a temptation to just stop recording whatsoever. I think for me, it really helps to have that momentum of I'm filming every day, 1.5 minutes. Don't worry about it, Joe. It doesn't matter if the views aren't great. This feels terrible to admit to a YouTube channel. This is very personal. This is something that I need right now to continue doing, to keep the momentum going, to keep me creating, to help me figure out what it is that I'm still interested in talking about and expressing, and to keep me honest about, am I doing something that is valuable to me rather than the surviving life stuff and being a wife and a mom and all of those things. The things that are important to me, when I turn that camera on and do the daily video, that's what I'm asking myself. It's like, what have you done today, Joanne, that you say you want to do in terms of the creative world and the creative life and legacy and all those kind of things? And so the daily videos are super useful. So the last 2 weeks, I was trying to decide what that would look like. I was trying to decide whether that would mean Monday to Friday or whatever else it would mean. I've decided at the moment to keep doing daily. And I said to my husband, I'll do it up till day 400. I say, obviously day 365 is today. And his feeling was, no, you need to make it 500 as a nice round number. I think that's probably what the plan is going to be. Continue on till day 500. It feels like this day 365. I'm not where I thought I would be in terms of lessons learned or habits built or anything like that. I think it's still useful for me to keep going. And I don't know what, and it scares me to say, oh, I'll do it for a year too. Like Vicky was mentioning, year 2. I'm not sure that it's going to be another 2 years, but reach day 500, that could be useful. And as I say, at the moment, I feel like there is a price to pay in terms of doing the video every day, because I think some people aren't interested, and it feels very selfish that I'm doing this for me. But maybe that is the choice that I'm making, is that instead of saying, oh, all my videos must be amazing on YouTube and get amazing views, it's like, no, I need the channel to serve and help me too. And this is for the very short videos. This is what I want to do. I want to capture what am I doing, and I want this accountability to do that. And at some point, I'm going to be looking back over the whole year and trying to get different lessons from it too. But at the moment, I felt I put a lot of pressure on myself about, okay, this is tying up year one. What am I going to do next with YouTube? Am I trying to make it money? Am I trying to do this? You know, all these different thoughts. And it was completely, all that pressure was completely self-imposed. It wasn't necessary at all at a time when I was feeling quite ill with other things. Silly me, silly me. But yeah, so I shall keep doing the daily videos. Thank you to anybody that watches this in the future. And it's completely fine if people aren't there. It's completely fine if people aren't there on the YouTube. I'm doing these things if you want to do a live. And if you're looking to set up a YouTube channel and you want some encouragement, or you're looking for the first person to do an interview, then just reach out to me. I want you to create the things that you want to create. I know how hard it is to take the first steps. And if I can help you and encourage you, that is what I will do. I will do my very best too. You know, there's limits on you know, energy and stuff like that. But I've been on other people's channels. Some people that I've done interviews with, they haven't edited and shared things yet. You know, we're all working it out. I will do my best. If it's too much, I will let you know. So trust me that I will do my best to take care of me. But I want to encourage and help you if I can. And certainly when it comes to hitting record and making you feel relaxed and helping you out with the first few times, that's what I want to do. Oh, and if you would like to be interviewed on my YouTube channel, if you're a creator or anything like that, and you think, you know what, I'd like to be doing interviews, but what I'd really like is somebody friendly and helpful for the first interview I do, then let me know. I would love to talk to people about who are creating and sharing their work. I think it's fascinating that there's so many people who want to create and are trying to build up that muscle of sharing their work. And then there's, you know, how do people do that? How do they get to the point where do they just tip themselves over and then start creating? So so Sam is here. Hi, Sam. I was talking about the OGs earlier. You were an absolutely amazing person. Thank you. Sorry, I just swallowed the hair. Sorry. I'm sorry, I got a hair. It won't come out there. How are you, Sam? I don't know how long you here, but I was just saying that I will be continuing the dailies. It is kind of it feels selfish. I need to keep doing them, and I understand that not everybody wants to watch, or not everybody is figuring out a journey and doing different things like that. But I think the cutoff point of the 1 year is probably, well, it is just an arbitrary date, isn't it? But I think I need a little bit more time. And so I don't feel ready to commit to doing year 2, 3, whatever. But I said day 400 maybe, and then my husband pushed me to day 500. He said, that sounds like a nice round number. So I think that's what I'm going to do. It's like every day still, because I need that accountability of what am I doing? My life, my expression type of thing. I don't know whether that came out wrong because you hadn't heard me speak earlier. That sense of you do your normal surviving work, you know, whatever you're doing in your busy life, but then there's your creative self-expression. It's like, okay, I'm going to take time to do things that are really important to me, even if I find them hard and I'm a beginner and I'm imperfect and making mistakes and stuff like that. So let me just check. what Sam says. Says, it's so good to see you and your accomplishment. This is something that is just amazing that you've accomplished. I'm doing okay, but I've been very busy. Yes, you've been quiet, haven't you? I wasn't sure if you've been poorly. So, or is it just a lot of pressures and other things and life stuff happening? I think your name was mentioned. I think Anya, Bells, and Mamie. I'm in a WhatsApp group with them, and I think your name was mentioned. I think it was Bells who was talking about you in particular. So I think it is an accomplishment. I think it's tempting for me to diminish it, but not in how I feel and when I talk to myself. I feel like it's a big achievement, but I do feel a certain sense of, oh, when I'm talking to other people, I need to say, oh no, it's no big deal, because I'm not sure if other people will see it as a big deal. It was a big deal for me. You're making me want to cry again. It was a big deal for me to turn it around and say, no, I'm going to take control of this. I'm going to do something for myself, and it's going to be imperfect, but I can handle that. I can do that. Yeah, and sort of prioritize myself, but also be quite gentle with myself in terms of keeping the goal pretty small. Does that make sense? And just say, okay, in a year's time, I will be more comfortable on camera. In a year's time, I had no idea what was going to happen after a year. I certainly did not know that when somebody's name came up in the comments that I would feel like I knew them. That's crazy. I'd heard about trolls on YouTube and stuff like that. And I'd heard other creators say that, you know, they felt like they know people. But when I looked at their comments, it was all, you're doing great. I love your content. You know, it was nice comments, but it's not the comments that I've got. You know, some of the comments I've got, people sharing about their particular challenges or their aspirations or how they've connected to different ideas that I've spoken to. Like, and then, you know, there's some people who've done like huge paragraphs of comments, and then some people even longer, and then other people reaching out to email me. It's just amazing. Sam says, in many ways, had assumed you were doing okay. And he says, and I just assumed you were doing great, but I felt like I should have checked in more often. It's not your responsibility, sweetie. I've had, as I said earlier to some people, that about 6 weeks I haven't been feeling particularly well, and it kind of spiraled down that I wasn't taking care of myself food-wise, and I was struggling to get some new routines in place and to take care of myself. Fortunately, there's a small WhatsApp group of Anya, Mamie, and Bells, and we're all talking about YouTube work stuff. So although sometimes we might mention what's going on at home, it's a place for us to geek out about something that we want to create and to build and to make. And that's been a real blessing. And we've had some calls that we've had on Zoom and just caught up with each other, and we can ask each other questions about, you know, how we feel about creating and what our aspirations are and different things like that. So it's been really good. So there are definitely places that I can go to have that kind of conversation now. I've been doing the daily videos, and I've had a handful of comments from that, but I've missed the deeper dive videos, the longer videos where you get more of the comments. So that's been fun. Are you back to full strength now? Will you be back, Sam? No. Let me just have a drink of water. I think Sam might have gone. Anyway, it's 1 hour 20, and it's nearly bedtime for my daughter. I'm just having a quick look. But thank you to anybody that finds it later. Thank you to Vicky and Sam for keeping me company and putting some questions in. Oh, there's another one from Sam. Let me just double check. So I was saying, I always thought that your interviews were great. At times I thought instead of focusing so much on the Ren aspect, but you shouldn't just focus on the reactions and maybe interviewing reactors in general. Yeah. Well, Sam, I reached out to a lot of people, not just Ren reactors, to do interviews. And I struggled to keep on top of it, managing it. And I had a lot of no's. I really like interviewing new creators too, but very often they feel uncomfortable and being on camera and different things like that. And it may be that they're making videos, but they're not comfortable doing an interview just yet. So how do I feel about the future for interviews? I'd love to be doing more interviews, and if people felt that they could trust me and do that, and if I could find a way to have an easier system to manage and keep track of the different interviews, I'd love to be doing that. And yeah, I don't feel like I need to keep talking about Ren. Ren for me was kind of shorthand. It was, oh, you like, it wasn't even you like this kind of music. It's like you have these kind of values. You admire somebody that's creating and being adventurous. You admire somebody, you know. So it was more those kind of things. So excuse me. Than saying, oh, you must be a fan of Ren. I definitely felt like I was evolving to be moving away from that. And I had a few people that I was really hopeful. The interview process had moved. It moved quite far down. It had been a couple of months of speaking to them and saying, this is other creators. And then that didn't progress. But as I say, I struggle with managing that process in terms of time and energy. He says, thank you. He's saying that I'm amazing. You're absolutely amazing. You truly help me. Thank you. I really hope. Yeah. I don't know how to say. Feels weird, doesn't it? Feels weird. I did not anticipate this with starting a YouTube journey. And then Sam was saying, interesting, they can do reactions but not interviews. Interesting. I love that you just put yourself out there 365 days ago. You never could have imagined what you've done. No. And I would never imagined the one video that would turn things and I would start getting more subscribers would be the video saying, I go down the rabbit hole of watching Ren reaction videos. I mean, I was embarrassed. I remember going to bed that night and thinking, I can't believe I just made and said that, you know, because it was, I didn't even class myself as a Ren fan. I just went down a rabbit hole and then I would watch video after video after video of the same song. And, you know, anyway. So, yeah. So I just wanted to comment about the point about they're okay to do reactions, but not interviews. Interviews can feel, one, they're not in control of the edit. Two, they don't know what questions I'm going to ask. I mean, I could give them an idea of questions. I don't typically, but it feels much more like doing a live. And what was interesting is there were several reactors that I spoke to who'd never done lives. So I think maybe for them, step one would be to do a live, and then a further push would be to do an interview and what type of thing I wanted to speak to them about. But yeah, I was surprised because they had much bigger channels than me, and I would have thought that they were completely comfortable being on camera. But clearly it's a different experience from doing a reaction to doing an interview. And I'm guessing some of them had big enough channels that they were busy and they didn't want to do interviews too. So there's other reasons as well, that whatever their success is. But there was definitely ones that said to me that they didn't feel that they could do an interview and they didn't want to be on camera for that type of thing. Sam's just saying, that's how many of us found you. That's how the early guys found me. And certainly the ones that seem to interact with me and speak to me in the comments. I think you were my early people. I can't believe it. I remember laughing as I made the video and just thinking, I can't believe I'm admitting this. I can't believe I'm admitting it. Mm. I thought perhaps you could react to reactors. Say you watch 2 of their reactions, you comment on them. I wonder. I don't know. I don't know what's happening about all of the different content. I felt over the last couple of weeks that I need to make decisions, but as I say, I think what's happened now is no, you don't have to make decisions, Joanne. You have to keep true to yourself and do what you can to do the next thing. And if you're excited about doing something, move forward and do that. It's funny as you're mentioning these different ones, and I'm thinking of some of the interviews and some of the people that I felt that I connected to. And I'm like, oh, I'd like more of that. And it makes me feel a little bit more energized to try again and reach out to people again. I think there was a time when I was getting a lot of no's, and it felt like a lot of effort to get no's. And I knew the channel was small and different things. I wasn't sure what I had to offer to different people. I was also reaching out to people who were independent artists and small artists. I don't know whether you follow Skinner Brothers, but I've noticed recently that he's doing much more commentary. Like, he's done some videos about how lonely it is to make music, and he's got a lot of views on those videos. And, you know, I'd love to interview him if he took the mask off, though. I'm not sure how I'd cope with. Obviously, he wants to keep the mask on, doesn't he? But I love having those kind of conversations. And I've reached out to a few people who are super early in their career of creating and sharing. But again, they're not comfortable being on camera and interviewing, and they don't know me well enough to trust me and to know that we could pause it, edit it, do whatever they wanted with the interview. I also really, really enjoyed interviewing people who were inspired by Ren. Now, clearly, this kind of links back to the Ren stuff, and I didn't feel like it had to be that they were inspired by Ren, but I really enjoyed the idea of speaking to people that were inspired by some creator to say, maybe I can create and figure this out for myself too. There's been a few people. I'm thinking in particular of Sarah, who's now got Sarah Sidewine, who's got the website now. And when she did the interview with me, she was needing to lie down because she hadn't been very well, and she was doing art. But now she's got the website and she's sharing more of her creations. I loved that interview. I loved talking to her. Let me just check what this goes. So, okay, so then he's just making a suggestion. Then go to them before you show anyone, bring it to the reactor, Then say, I'd like to interview you about how you made that decision to be a reactor. What has been good, bad? And then some say, the Skinner Brothers, no, don't know them. Some people in the Ren world mentioned to me to look at the Skinner Brothers. I have done reactions to a song of theirs. They wear a mask, and I thought it was an interesting choice that they wear a mask. Mainly because a lot of my cartoons and things think about masks and about the idea of hiding yourself, and seem to be like a small independent group. And in those, they show their audience, and I thought, well, that's really interesting that they show their audience and how the audience is reacting, their facial expressions, but they're hidden. Sam says, I have also noticed people who are using AI to make content. Maybe those you could interview, maybe bring your cartoons to life. Could be interesting. I think there's going to be a few projects going forward. I'm doing an AI course at the moment, and I'm wondering what's possible. So, yeah. Yeah. There's a few things. What I've noticed is I think I was trying to I was trying to be a fancy pants with cartoons. I was trying to do audio with them and make them into stories and different things like that. And it became more work, and I ended up stopping drawing a little bit. And then the last week or so, I thought, no, I just need to draw them because that's me expressing, and that's fun. And when I look back on the cartoons, it's that you can clearly see, once there's about a dozen of them, you can see that I'm thinking of the same thing. Something that I'm not aware in my conscious mind is going on. For example, a while ago, I had doors in every cartoon. There'd be a door that was shut, and then me trying to get through the door, and then me trying to climb over the door. And it's like, I think there's a bit of a theme going on here, or there's a theme of, as I say, the inner conflict, where there's always been two versions of me, one wanting to go that way and one wanting to go that way, So I miss that by trying to be too fancy and make them into something. But I'm interested and I aspire to that, but I don't want to lose it as a tool for helping me and for just being expressed and different things. I've had a little experiment. The ones I've done, I've enjoyed, but I don't think I could do them every week. But you're right. Maybe AI could help different things. But yeah, and that's why I've been doing the course. And I was thinking I'm not so familiar with the terminology, what's possible with AI. And I've really enjoyed it. Also, one of the other things I've noticed, I've been writing and doing stuff for 20 years and not sharing a huge amount of it. And I thought, wow, there's quite a lot that I could do, go back and finish things. And now I've written books. What about the things that I've written in the past? Maybe I could put them in a book. But I was thinking, how can I use AI to pull everything together? I did this project where I reached out to all the universities in the UK for a freedom of information about something that they were doing to do with communication and self-expression. I got all the replies, I put them into a report, and then I was a little bit worried because they were kind of saying in their answers not to share it. But I was thinking I could ask AI what the law was about how I collate and report on that kind of content. It was just me geeking out about the subject and thinking, well, there's a particular reason, there's a particular story relating to a university that I was really interested in. And I would like to do kind of a project or document. I mean, I aspire to do a documentary about it. I mean, that feels a little bit too dreamland at the moment. But I did quite a lot of work, but it didn't amount to anything. And so this AI thing was like, I wonder what's possible for me to play and experiment and use these things that I've been interested in the past and share them with people. I wonder if AI could take the ones you already have and have it put them all together. Could be a way to share your 1 year journey. Yeah, I was thinking, should I be doing it more as a block? I wondered, I don't know whether you've heard the idea of body doubling. It's something that they use in sort of the ADHD world. And the idea is that you just have somebody else there to help you. And I thought maybe if I do the sort of as a longer video, I don't know whether it would be the whole year, but I could do a month at a time, for example, or 3 months at a time. And it almost be like a body doubling thing, that if you're a new creator and you're hesitant, just to put that on in the background and hear that I'm going, day one, day two, and sort of that kind of feeling of, yeah, somebody else is going through that too. I need to tidy up the desk. I need to sort my folders out. I need to, and I thought maybe that would be, I could imagine that might be motivating for them to see that, each day and see how I improve or not, whatever they think. An AI creator called Renegade did a song that was Jenny and Screech, but it ends positive. Okay. perhaps there would be a person. Let me just write the name, Renegade. And you say they're an AI creator. Thank you for it. If somebody's watching this in the future and they're thinking, oh, I might have a recommendation or idea, yes, please. Yes, please. Yes. Perhaps it would be a good person you could talk to, see what's possible. I'm just saying, yeah, that'd be interesting. So yeah, I think when I very first did the video and I said, Rabbit Hole, the High Ren song, people were saying to me, oh, do reaction videos and do the, but nobody was saying to me, do interviews, and nobody was saying to me, do other things. But I do think it was useful for me to take a pause. And I did a few reactions, but I'm pleased that I've done the other experiments too. So I think that is the way forward, is to keep doing those other experiments and share those things. And that feels a bit weird. That feels a bit like I'm kind of disrespecting or disregarding things that people have said that they want. I hope people know that I am listening to that. I'm also trying to listen to myself and be true to myself as well. Okay, another recommendation. Check out a group called North Pause. Also AI song video clip. Okay. Yeah, I was wondering as well about doing a follow-up, reaching out to some of the people I've already interviewed and asking about a follow-up. So, for example, Nicoletta, who was the lady who's an opera singer as well. When I first spoke to her, she wasn't sharing much about her singing, but she's been really brave and shared some of that. And I know that she doesn't get the views that she does for the reaction videos. But when I was doing the interview with her, she was saying to me that there are other aspects of her. And typically when I speak to the different reactors, they create and they might do reactions, but they're also writing their own music. I know Tone Deaf was writing poetry, and I was there encouraging them to do all of this other stuff. So I know that, for example, Tone Deaf did his first live, after I was saying, go on, do a live, you look at these reactions, these people who have the reactor channels, especially when the 10,000 subscribers, you look at them and think, oh, they know what they want and they're going after it and they're doing all these things. But they're just like the rest of us, that a word of encouragement, and they're also curious and want different things and to be encouraged to do it, and there will be areas they feel more confident and less confident, and once you start having 10,000 plus subscribers, that doesn't necessarily go away. Okay, Sam's got all these recommendations now. Sumo, a creator goes by Sumo, I think. I'll have to look him up. But he was a poet, getting no attention, so he now makes his poetry into songs with video. But Sam's saying, poet, AI. Do you know what, Sam? I haven't particularly thought about reaching out to people who are using AI to create, but it's a good point. I'm to say it's something I follow different channels that are teaching about AI, but I hadn't really thought about finding other creators, especially like you say, the ones that are making one type of thing and they're using AI to make that a fuller or a slightly different creation product. So yeah, unfortunately, very often by the time I find these people who are new creators, suddenly they're blowing up, and that's why they've come across my algorithm, isn't it? But I'm trying to. I was checking out a few magazines lately, and they were saying about independent artists and different things like that. people, I follow a lot of people who paint and draw and do different things like that. Unfortunately, they're not comfortable being on camera. Certainly the majority that I've spoken to are not comfortable being on camera. I got lucky with people like Sarah and Habsart, that they were following Ren, and then they had found me, so they were more open to talking to me because of that connection. But definitely making this video tonight has made me feel like, yeah, there was a lot of things over that year that were enjoyable and interesting. And I think by having a tough 6 weeks or so at the end, health wise, I think maybe that sort of fried my brain a bit, that I stopped remembering some of these other things. So talking to you has really helped. And Sam saying, Nicoletta is a fascinating person. Her husband also helps people deal with substance abuse issues, and she has really fallen in love with teaching people to sing. Yeah. She was one of the early people to say that she would do an interview with me when I was, as I say, still really small. I think at that point she was starting to become successful as a reactor. I'm pretty sure she was over the 10,000 subscribers, but I mean, now I think she's much bigger than that. And as I say, she agreed to do an interview with me. There are some people, as I say, I think you remember the people that were there and giving you a chance in the early days. But yeah, but as I say, I know, I think it was Nicole Maria Sings. I think she was going by a different name, and then as I did the interview, then she was rebranding and saying Nicoletta. But yeah, so we're having the interview. It's all great, loving all the questions, and then what I do is I end the interview, but she's still online. Or this is what happens with all the interviews, and then she's still online, and I'm saying, "How are you? Is there anything that you feel that you want me to cut out or change?" and different things like that. And then she starts talking about her singing more and some of the projects that she does, and I'm like, oh, all of it is so fascinating. But as I say, I think at that point she was still relatively new, although, as I say, she had 10,000 or so. I don't know whether it was 7 or 8, but she had way more than me in terms of subscribers. But she was still figuring out, could she include that? She knew that people liked her reactions. She knew that people liked the added value of her singing and harmonizing at the end, but she was still really figuring out. And I was like, yes, I want to know about that. I want to know all of it. That's so funny. In the comments, people sometimes people say, nobody's interested in your journey and your stuff. And I was like, you don't speak on behalf of everybody. I understand that there could be zillions of people out there that are not interested in my journey as such. But when I look at other people's channels, I am interested in how they got there. And, I was doing an interview, wasn't I? And I was saying, how did he get the confidence to hit record? And how do you do that? And he goes, I was doing it since I was 13. I was making music. I was in a band. I was in front of audiences. And it was such a different experience. And I was thinking, yes, I am interested in that. I'm not just interested in the reactors. I'm interested in exactly that. How did you figure that out? What did your dad say to you? And just dead nosy, aren't I? That was something they were asking me. Some people have been worried about whether they speak too much in the interviews. It's like, I love it. I love it. I'm just geeking out and getting excited, and I want you to tell me more. I think there was one person who was, I think I've just had a warning saying my connection is unstable, but okay, it's bounced back. Let's just see what's happening. If you lose me, it's because it's saying the connection is unstable. Sam saying, amazing interviews you did over the year. It is possibly something you need to step back from for a moment, but then check out so many of your accomplishments. I know you did another comment, but I just want to say about the interviews. I think what happened was I set myself up to do an interview a week, and I had so many planned, and then so many fell through and just didn't happen. I thought they were going to happen and didn't, and so there was long gaps. I said, this is not good for me. As soon as I start having these gaps, that can be a bit of a problem in that I lose the momentum. So there's something about learning about myself, isn't it, really? And Sam says, I'm fascinated by the decision to just go forward with something new in life and then stick with it for a whole year. Amazing. Yeah, Sam, this is something I kept mentioning in the interviews. Looking at story structure, that call to adventure. When the hero says, yes, I'll do it. Now, sometimes in stories, the hero doesn't have much of a choice. Got to kick up the bum. You're doing it, But sometimes in these creative things, particularly about hitting record, it's a conscious choice of one day you're not sharing and you're not doing all of these things. And then the next day, you've just said yes. And, it's that tipping point. I'm really fascinated by how people do it and how seemingly small things can just tip you over. I'm interested in synchronicities and all stuff like that. And so I'm saying, I see, the gaps create discouragement. I think it's discouragement. And I think I got it in my head a little bit about I'm a small channel and people are saying no. And, I'm asking people that have got much bigger followings, not necessarily on YouTube, but maybe on Instagram, their followings is much bigger. And I don't think I particularly sold myself as the opportunity. I felt like I was kind of the underdog of, I'm a small channel, I'd love to interview you, I'm really interested in your story. And I didn't feel like I could offer something. I'm not sure even now how I would approach other people, other than if they're not used to interviews, then I'm a friendly face and I'm offering them full creative freedom to, if they were really unhappy with the interview at the end of it, then we wouldn't share it. If they want to take big bits out of it, we wouldn't share it. I mean, I've had decades of teaching and helping people with speaking to relax and calm down and different things like that. So it's really important to me when I'm speaking to people that they're feeling comfortable. And, if they're all feeling a bit tongue-tied, then I will jump in and help out. So I don't think I've really stressed that, but I didn't want to say things like that if they're uncomfortable about doing interviews. I'm not sure whether some people have this professional persona, the mask thing, and me pointing out that if you are feeling uncomfortable, I can help you out with that. I'm also really interested in doing some interviews with people who've got English as a second language and creating and different things, because I can see that would be anxiety producing. I've spoken to quite a few people who turning the camera on in your second language and sharing your creation and trusting that your accent or any mistakes you make don't detract from how excellent you are at the craft or the songwriting or anything like that. And then Sam says again, I wonder if AI could take your year's worth of content and put it into a cool montage of a story, maybe. I don't know. Oh my goodness, what would happen? I don't know. I haven't really stopped to look at all the different titles. This is something, sorry, excuse me. When I was coming to the end of the year, this is something that I was thinking about, where I was thinking, I could do Monday to Friday, or going forward, I could do just 5 days a week, or I could do one weekly video about documenting the journey. That is that I think that would become the highlight reel. And that wasn't what I was aiming for. the goal was to document the journey and think, but there's still a general feeling of this has been a good day or this has not been such a good day. I think if I was doing it weekly, then it would be, well, for one, I think I'd spend most of the week not doing anything towards my dream, and then when it came to doing that, then I'd gloss over the week stuff. So the reason I mention that is that I don't know, I don't know whether AI would go. I don't know. Oh my goodness, she's up and down and up and down. You know, just like, I don't know what AI would think of me crying, and then I'm excited, and then I'm going to give up. 365 days of, my goodness, this woman is all over the place. I don't know what it would think. Oh dear. Okay, so another recommendation. My goodness. I'm glad you turned up tonight. So The Waking Dreamer is doing that, and English is not his native tongue, and he is very bright. He has a friend do all the technology stuff for him. Yeah. Okay, and there's some. Is this another one? Braveheart Viking is a woman, same thing. I'm just writing it down. Anybody is wondering. She has a friend do the technology stuff, and English is a different language. Right. That's great. That's really great. And as I say, and that makes me feel like I feel like for the interviews there needs to be a different door open, because as I say, I was speaking to a lot of the reactors, and then I tried speaking to some creatives, but I think I wasn't selling myself, or I think that maybe I need to go for people who have smaller followings, who are starting out, and I'm just as interested in the smaller following, especially when, you know, they're hitting record and sharing. My interest in their story is, how do they get that courage to do that and to change their life, rather than how do you manage. Maybe one day I'll be interested more in that side of the story. For right now, it's how do you get yourself to do that? You know, that how do you get yourself to say yes to that? And then and then there was a lot of laughing emojis and stuff, and I didn't read them out, whatever. And then someone was saying laughter was from your description of AI responding to the roller coaster of your journey. Yeah. I knew when I said I'm going to do it daily, that I wanted it to be as honest as possible. I didn't want it to be me doing a poor me. I didn't want it to be, oh, I've had a hard day today, whatever. I mean, I wanted to keep it light. So excuse me, but there's lots of times I cried and different things. But generally, when I cried, I think it was more about. I think it was things like reading the comments, and when there were beautiful comments. I don't remember reading some like nasty comment and crying and sharing anything like that. I think it was more, I felt connected to different people, and people were reaching out and being so kind. And there was sometimes when I was saying that I was finding things hard, but I really wanted to stay away from the poor me, you know, it's not working type of thing. I think there were times when I needed to be honest and share my frustrations, but a lot of the frustration, although I talked about the tech, my frustrations were with myself, that I knew it was such a weak point. And I think that's why I'm so interested in the AI and other creators. The idea that there's all these things that you're interested in, but there's an area that you feel weaker on, and that's stopping you from sharing and going for it. And for a lot of people, that's hitting record and being on camera. And maybe it's about second language, or maybe it's about the tech. I don't know. Sam says, yes, exactly. What made them make that choice is a great point. And so says, no, you were just authentic. as I say, I think it was more my taste in the videos and the content that I was watching. And definitely over the last probably 3-4 months, I've been watching different, I've been struggling a little bit with YouTube, the content that I watch, and feeling that I wanted to unsubscribe from certain channels, and that there was too much formula. And the seven steps to strategically be perfect, whatever rubbish, you know. I thought, oh, these aren't real people with real lives. Sometimes you want to watch a video, you just want the lesson, you just want to learn it. But there's lots of other times, and there's lots of other room in my life for connecting and learning something from somebody that you feel is a human being, and who actually may find some things hard and some things easier, and then you're trying to figure out, is that, I think that's the thing, is that I wasn't connecting to a lot of these different YouTube channels, especially when they said just hit record, and I don't know. I've unsubscribed to a lot of people lately. And then Sam says, oh, if the troll Jersey are out there, I always say the kind of person who takes time to say something mean are likely the people that have their own insecurities. Their comments have no value. I think I made a video about this really early on. I think it's a rite of passage. I've been watching lately, this is a little sidetrack, I've been watching a podcast with Monica Lewinsky, and talk about public shaming and global scale public shame, and having her life massively transformed. Now, I've had a few troll comments, and so I can only talk about my experience with just a couple of different comments. For me, it feels like it's a rite of passage that if I want to be creating and sharing, then some of these things are going to happen. And it may be that I don't decide. What I felt for me is that don't decide in the moment. Decide beforehand how you're going to be dealing with the troll comments, because in the moment you may feel like, ouch, or I'm hurt, especially if it's a live and different things like that. I've had a few people hijack lives and talk nonsense through it and just take over the comments, and just, you know, you think, okay, how am I going to deal with this? But I can't talk about dealing with trolls and huge public shaming things. I think that'd just be devastating. But on the level that I'm dealing with things, and as the channel is growing, there are a lot of people say you need to wear makeup, or you need to do lipstick, or you need to do, you know, and you just like, okay,